just saying that I was a Christian. And then what started to happen was I started to meet other people and ask them and find out if they were Christians or not, because my faith was suddenly coming alive then, once I'd had the courage to do that. And it was quite hilarious, really. We had, I'd started a little prayer group. I found one other person I could pray with, and we would meet on a Tuesday lunchtime. In fact, I'd met him at Spring Harvest, and I'd employed him as our interim IT director. And he prayed, and we would pray together at lunchtime, just the two of us. And then he found somebody else who wanted to come and pray with us, and he found somebody else. And our peak was only 5 people, but there were 120 in the office, so it's quite good. And what happened as a result of that was that everybody started to know that that's what we were doing. And I would meet people who were, I don't know, boys, you don't know this, but in the ladies' loo, that's where it all happens. People go in there and they cry. It's where all the gossip happens. It all happens in the ladies' loo, so you really are missing out. And I went in there one day, and this girl said to me, she was sobbing. I didn't know her, and I said, what's the matter? And she told me that one of her best friends was dying of cancer. She was 30, and she had 2 young children. And she was deeply and utterly distressed, as anyone would be. So I'm one to engage my brain long time after I've opened my mouth, normally. So I said to her, would you like me to pray for your friend? And she said, oh yes, would you? I said, well, I will do, but I will tell you it's not magic. I have no idea what will happen, but I will pray for her. Anyway, I went away and I did pray for her, and about 3 weeks later I saw this girl again, and I said, oh, hi, how's your friend? And she said, oh, she died. And I said, oh, I'm really sorry. Oh no, she said, don't be sorry. She said, the day before she died, she woke up from her coma for 2 hours, long enough to say goodbye to her children and her husband before she died. And I believe that was an answer to prayer. So the thing about your faith and your work is you never know what God's going to do, but you've got to put it out there. And you've got to be available for him to use you. And you don't have to be punching your Bible and asking people if they're saved. You just have to be you. And one of the things that John Stott said is, God calls us not so much to do something as to be someone. So one of the things to do as a Christian in the workplace and the Christian in the world is to become more of who God created you to be. You know, I love Psalm 139. He created us from our inmost being, knit us together in our mother's womb. So learning and getting alongside God and discovering who you are in Christ is the most important thing you can do. So one of the questions here is, how do I do that? How do I get to be in that place where I'm engaging with God and I'm knowing who I'm most of who I should be? And the answer is going to be different for all of us. But the key is through reading his word, meditating on it, and spending time with God. And if you get an opportunity to go away on retreat or to a place like this, it's a really good opportunity just to calm down and stop and be. And there'll be all sorts of people who'll say, oh, you should pray at 5 in the morning and get up 2 hours early. It's like, who on earth is going to get up at 5 in the morning when you could stay in bed? I mean, that just doesn't work for me. So do what works for you, not what other people tell you should work for you. That's the key. Do what works for you and God. And find a favourite psalm or a favourite part of the Bible and really get in amongst it and enjoy working through that. So that's one of the practical things that you can do. The other thing that you can do, and we haven't got time to do it all today, is to look at people who are working in the Bible. So one of my favourites, for example, is Daniel. I just love Daniel. He's obviously good looking with his mates. He gets called over to a different country. He gets given a new name. He gets given a totally different job. He gets told what he's going to be doing and what he's going to be eating. And he stands up in the most gracious way. He doesn't want to eat meat that's been set before idols. He stands up for himself and what he believes in a gracious, loving, kind way. And look where that gets him. I mean, he is an amazingly powerful guy. So look at the people in the Bible who you like and who you see at work and find out what they do. So Paul, For example, people say to me, and I can't stand to say, I say, what do you do for work? Oh, I'm a tent maker. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know we had those in England. You know, I'm not a tent maker, I'm a business coach. You know, that's what I do for a living. But if you look at Paul, he talks about the fact that people provide money for him, but he then has to go off and work every now and then. So he's a model that I look at now for how I'm working and how my work connects with my faith. So think about the model that you have for work and the model that fits in, and find someone in the Bible that you can stand alongside, study how they are, and do a little bit more of that. Are you happy so far? Checking in? All right? Good. How to be different as a Christian? How to ensure work doesn't become the most important thing? Whoa, that's a big one. Okay, priorities. What did Jesus do? That isn't one of those cheesy ones of those things. What would Jesus do? This is what did he do. The reality is, he often went away quietly on his own. Up a mountain, over by a lake, really annoyed the boys because they couldn't find him. They said, where the heck have you been? I've been up a mountain with my father. So what he did is a model for us. So get out, make sure you know what your priorities are. When you're earning a lot of money, you employ me as your business coach and I help you with your priorities. But until that time, work with your friends to check your priorities. There's a group of people who I have who, very good friends of mine, Gwyneth, Jill and Catherine, and I call them the Border Patrol. They watch my back for me. They're solid, Bible-believing Christians, and they watch my back for me. They came to me a few years ago and said, Daphne, we've had a meeting about you. I mean, I didn't know they even existed in that format. I was really affronted, actually. I thought, what do you mean you've had a meeting about me? We think you're ill. I said, that's even worse. You think I'm ill? And actually, after I got over that shock, I was really touched that 3 people who love me would have it in them to say, we think you're ill. And we think you're depressed. And I won't bore you with the reasons why, but I was. And we think you should go and see the doctor. Which one of us would you like to come with you? Which wasn't an option. There wasn't a you're not going. There was which one of us is coming with you. So I had to choose. So I have the Border Patrol who patrol my borders. And I would recommend, if you want to think about your priorities, find 2 or 3 people who you know and love and trust. Blokes, females, whoever they are, and sit down with them frequently and just check in what you're doing. We have personal development reviews at work. We sit down every 6 months with our boss. Why on earth would we not do that with our faith? Just checking in.